How you doing, guys? Let me open up the chat. Let me know also if if the chat has been replaying. Would love to know. Would love to know. And we might actually, fingers crossed, Chase said he may be able to join us tonight. So that would be fantastic. Let me know if you guys if I'm coming through audioly and visually. Greetings from the Humongous, the Lord Humongous. Just to let everyone know, the only people who are going to survive what's coming next are the ones who have the Rule the Wasteland Survival Fishing Kit. If that's too big for you, we have the Rule the Wasteland Micro Survival Fishing Kit. Fits in the palm of even my modestly sized hands. Only weighs 2 ounces. 5x5 sounds good. Like I said, Che may hopefully be able to join and drop in at some point during the night, which would be fantastic. Be great to see him, see what's going on in this world. Yeah, he said maybe 10 to 15 minutes. Sounds great. I can definitely hang for that long. So I have a few things, and I'm interested to talk to Chady because it's been a while since I got to talk to him about anything. So I'm definitely eager to hear his thoughts on a few things that are going on out there. But one of the things I wanted to talk about, I'll save some of it for later, is that as we see, because I've made a few videos talking about how America's kind of, everyone keeps saying third world country, like we've already been a third. Like, no, we're not a third world country. By no metric are we yet, even now, close to a third world country. And I think there's a very good chance that we'll never get there. I think the country, if it was on that trajectory, would certainly fracture and wouldn't just stay together as it stands now and just become a third world country. It would break up. I do think that by a lot of metrics, we are fastly approaching and will enter in a lot of ways a second world status, especially if our currency falters, when our currency falters. And I mean, you can just look at the way that I remember saying to my girlfriend years ago, the way we'll know that we're on that path or getting there is when you go to the drop-down menu on a website and it no longer says United States at the top out of alphabetical order. And we've already happened, which means it doesn't necessarily mean anything other than the perception that we are not automatically the most important or most likely to be using some service or something like that, that we're just another country in the list. That's how we're perceived by everyone else. And also by the people in the country, that we're just perceived as just another country out there. Yeah, so you have to go all the way down to United Arab Emirates, United whatever, and all the way down and find it instead of just on the very top like it used to be. And infrastructural stuff, we had a bridge collapse. Like, yes, that was due to a fire, I think somewhere outside of Philadelphia. An oil tanker crashed under a bridge, but let's see how long that takes to repair. And everywhere in the country, there's dilapidated infrastructure that was built in many cases in the 50s, highways, bridges, things like that, it lasted a while, but now we don't have the money and everything and resources necessary to rebuild a lot of that or repair it. So things are being patched, and look at the roads in a lot of places that you tell me that's a first world country road, potholes everywhere, cracked up, takes them forever to do it. Not only that, but just the amount of like bureaucracy. That's one thing that people kind of overlook a lot when it comes to being, the difference between these second world countries is a lot of stuff gets just totally snarled in a just mess of just crippling, suffocating bureaucracy versus like the way maybe Japan or one of the other countries could just really go in there, fix something really quick. There's that image of a sinkhole that Japan repaired in like 60 hours or something. And it was like, I'm talking like a whole block had caved in and they were like, bam, it was done in like 2 days. And it takes us weeks and everything just to get the environmental permit. Everyone has their own little pet project and pet, funding reason and pet red tag that has to be, or red flag that has to be red tape. That's what I was looking for. Red tape that has to be dealt with. And so everything's slow, everything's shitty, everything's more expensive than it should be. There's no streamlined process, travel, infrastructure, just nothing works. It just doesn't work. Like back historically for an entire time I've, been alive in the US, you could count on things mostly working the way they were supposed to. And that's no longer the case as we become a second world country in a lot of ways. It doesn't have to be official, maybe the GDP number still is the top in the world, whatever. But when it comes down to day, the things that we're experiencing, that's the reality. And one of those realities is crime, and specifically like the types of crime. Like obviously we see massive crime increases in the inner city, but there's types of crime that you never really saw in the US, like one specifically that you see in shittier countries, for lack of a better word, that you're starting to see now, is like follow home type robberies, where people will actually follow someone to their house and then rob them, mug them, whatever, as they're getting out of their car or as they're getting back into their house. So they'll profile them at the store, or see them buy something, or see that they have cash or whatever, and then just follow them home, maybe follow them through the gate of the gated community or something along those lines, and then get out, rush up to them. You see a lot of Ring cameras and stuff like that. And it's good to have the cameras for evidence, but it's not going to save you. It's not going to stop them from doing it. So you have to be ready to deal with that, to physically deal with it. And we're seeing a lot also of random acts of violence that are motivated by just general animus of different groups. There's a ton, I've mentioned this before, there is no American nation when it comes to the people. There is multiple independent nations within the US who their primary identity is not, I'm an American. It could be a religion, it could be a race, it could be people from another country who primarily identify as that. And it doesn't mean that there's automatically animosity towards the US or towards anyone else in the US. There often is, but the point is you can't serve two masters. And when your primary identity is not the US, you have a different set of values, a different, maybe even language, different religion, different whatever, there is no one cohesive nation. And when crime and poverty and everything else starts getting worse, those dividing lines are going to become a lot more important to everyone. The difference is a lot more meaningful, and a lot more rage and anger across those groups. And you're already seeing that with different people lashing out at different groups of other races, different social classes, people doing like just random violent acts to people that are in these different groups. So I think that's going to increase. So one of the ways you can, obviously people have talked about getting out of the areas where where these things are most likely to happen. It's not too hard to find out what those areas are, but anywhere you can, I mean, like we see with South Africa, when it gets bad enough, being in a farm isn't going to help you. In a lot of cases, there are certain ways that it can become more difficult to deal with when people really, the isolation can work against you too, as much as it works for you, when people still decide that they want to come get you. And you can have a great, 40-acre compound, but if someone decides they want to drive out there with 12 guys and ransack your farm, you've got to be ready for that. And luckily, we haven't seen stuff like that happening yet in the US, but if it keeps getting worse, that is going to happen too. And what you can do is always be aware of your surroundings, put some basic security protocols into place for when you are doing these things. And, if you're paying decent attention, you can usually tell when tell if someone's following you, and if you, at the very least, when you're leaving and right when you're arriving, pay attention to what's going on then. It may be difficult, especially at night, to tell if someone's like following you home, especially if they're anywhere near decent at it and they don't have a very easily identifiable car. But when you're pulling out of a place, you can see if someone's immediately following you. And at least when you're getting into your neighborhood, if you think that if there's someone like literally right behind you or within visibility of you, just do another lap around the block. And most of the time, it'll just be someone else who lives in that neighborhood. They'll pull off. And if not, then you can just keep going. And if you're really worried about it, do a second lap. And then if someone has followed you for 2 laps around the block, you can tell they're pretty much up to no good. And then you don't go to your house. And then if no one seems to be following you, when you pull into your driveway, at least look around, wait a second. If you see someone pull up, another car pull up, you don't want to be able to get boxed in. So that's why it's important to see if someone's behind you. But even if they are boxed in, if you're still in your vehicle, at least you could, slam in reverse, smash them out of the way, drive across your lawn if you needed to, whatever. So it's that moment once you get out of your car, especially if you have groceries and stuff and get into the house, that's when it would be most dangerous. No, actually, Willen, running solo tonight, I thought I would be, but it looks like Che hopefully will be able to make it. He said 10 or 15 minutes. I didn't think I'd be able to do it the live stream tonight, and I sprung it on those guys again, but I was like, hey, sorry for the late notice. I didn't think I'd be sitting at home tonight, but I ended up being here, so I'm going to jump on. If you're free, come on. And I don't think Dan can make it, but it looks like Che might be able to, so it'd be nice to see him. So hopefully it won't be just me, but he said 10 or 15 minutes, and it's only been 9 minutes. So yeah, situational awareness, watch out for that. And just those follow home ones are the big one, because that just not being aware. We're still not at a point in most areas where there's a huge risk. If you're outside of the inner city, there's still not a huge risk of just running up and getting mugged. It's always there. There's nowhere where your risk is zero, but especially if you then have some general situational awareness, carry some kind of weapon, even if it's a pepper spray or whatever. There's always a passive defense item or options like a bulletproof vest and whatever, even bulletproof purses and backpacks, whatever. If you do even a couple of those things combined with some decent situational awareness, you can get your risk pretty damn low, luckily, if you're outside of these really bad areas. So that is what I would recommend. And again, if you are in those bad areas and you haven't had a chance to get out yet or unable to or have any reason to be worried, you can always try to buy stuff online. That's still an option, even in most of those crappy areas. You can still have mail shipped to you. With Amazon, you can even buy rice and almost and fresh groceries. And a lot of times, it's at least canned stuff, and it's not even more expensive. I've told you guys about how I buy the stag chili on Amazon for cheaper than I get it, or no more expensive than the store, delivered right to your door. So if you don't want to go to the store, single woman or something, and you want to avoid it in a bad part of town, you haven't been able to get out yet, that's one way to do it as things continue to get worse. And yeah, stuff like package thefts and stuff, that's all going to get worse too. And we're going to see insurance rates go up. We're going to see all that other things that go along with there being a higher risk. It's going to be continue to get worse. And hopefully that will peak and then start to get better. But let me know what you guys think. Have you seen that in your area in particular? Luckily, like I said, out here, that is the case in the bad parts of town. It's not something that has affected the entire town as a whole in any like significant way. But when I'll keep my eyes open, because when it does, I probably wouldn't want to stay if it gets to that point where there's like an actual risk of people like following home. Not only because of the actual risk, because I think in a lot of ways I'd be able to deal with that more effectively than just a lot of random people. But for the people I care about, and specifically when it gets that bad, I would be thinking like, hey, it's probably continuing to get worse, and I would want to be more on a homestead type situation if possible, if we really start to see a serious decline. But let me know what you guys think. Personally, let's say getting better in the short term. I don't either. Not in the short term. I don't even think it's going to get better in the medium term. I think in a few years we could start to see some improvements depending on what happens, but we could see continued worsening for years, for many years. It depends. Especially depends on where and choices that are made. That's what's so hard to predict about any stuff, because there's always so many ways you can go with it. It's like a choose your own adventure book. You know what I mean? Like, and then we're not the ones who get to choose in a lot of times. You know, the government and even foreign governments, central banks, politicians, large companies, they're all making decisions on this shit too that we have no input into. To some extent we do it to politicians, supposedly. But yeah, I also do not see it getting better in the short term. So one of the things that I wanted to talk about, and these are one of the things that I was curious to see what Che thinks when he gets here, is about the new Ukrainian offensive. And you know, from all, of course, the news we hear about any of them, their minor or moderate successes of the Ukrainian and NATO forces. But what I'm seeing is very nondescript. I'm not getting a good sense, and I don't delve into every bit of information I can find on this. I try to get a big picture approach because I'm not trying to figure out exactly what's happening in each battle and each engagement in Ukraine and NATO. Not only is it maddening to try to do all that research, it's also, for my purposes, doesn't really matter. You know what I mean? Like what happens in each individual battle, engagement, whatever, doesn't really matter to me on a day-to-day basis. And I'm looking at the big picture, overall direction of this thing. And it certainly seems, from what I'm hearing, you can't really trust any data you're getting. So that's why it's weird to me if people make these really specific claims about what's happening, when it's like, you really have to trust a significant amount of the data to be able to have these opinions about it. And I don't trust any of it. Ukraine is an incredibly corrupt country. I don't trust their data any more than I do Russia's, and I don't trust Russia's data. So you have to kind of look at, like I said, the totality of it. And what I've seen from the offensive so far is that Ukraine appears to be making gains on a map basis, a coverage or territorial basis. Supposedly the lines have been pushed back, but that's something we've seen. But, you know, they don't seem to have, that I picked up yet or seen articulated yet, an overall strategy for exactly what they're trying to do in which areas. It seems like one of the themes that we've seen throughout this conflict is Ukraine and NATO are focused on territory. If they think they can get more territory, then that's what they consider winning, push it back a line. And the Russians are like, we'll draw back to this line and just bombard you. Like they don't necessarily view the territory as being something that they absolutely need at any given point. And that's why I think they just kind of took their time in Bakhmut and just kind of inched their way along, drop back when they need to in certain areas. Oh, it looks like Che may be dropping in. I'm looking at the roof right now if you can hear me.
Hey, what's up, man?
Hey, how's it going, bro? I can hear you, but I can't see anything but the roof.
Yeah, I'm doing some configuration here. It's been a while. So
No worries, man. Good to see you. We are live. So make sure you have your shorts on.
cool. Oh, right. Yeah, just chilling back. Thanks for sending the link. I didn't even occur to me Sunday night.
And like I said, I didn't
swear, right?
What? Yeah, for sure. I didn't think I was going to be able to do it tonight. Yeah, right. Exactly. We scare away the last 35 people. Who cares? I didn't think I'd be able to do it tonight, and then because I wasn't going to be back, and I was like, "Wait, I am back. I guess I'll jump on." But I knew it was last minute, so I wasn't going to get my feelings hurt if you guys couldn't make it. But I'm definitely glad you can.
Well, yeah. Well, listen, it's been hit and miss. I mean, even for me, more specifically than anything else, and it's just been one mega fucked up year for me.
Yeah, I get it, man.
Listen, dude, I don't know what the equation is. You're on the same ship as I am, because you work out, you go to the gym. I was at the gym for an hour this morning, and hot yoga, and this is all good stuff.
Yeah, man. I saw your picture. You're looking jacked. Way to go.
Thanks, dude. Yeah.
But yeah, it's good. People thought I'd scared you off. They were like, "Where's Che?"
Ha.
That's not my fault.
He showed me one of his bulletproof vests.
Yeah, exactly.
How's our fuck? What's his name?
Who, Dan?
Yeah. What kind of fucking idiot am I? I can't remember the guy's. How's he been doing?
He's been doing good. He was on the one before last. You saw tonight that he said he couldn't make it. He wasn't back to his hotel yet, but seems like he's been doing good, just working, jumping on when he's free. So it's been good to go. No issues there. I was interested to hear what you think about the whole Russian thing, because other than what we've talked early on, I haven't got to hear your thoughts on the ongoing saga.
I haven't really been following. Okay, what's the link? Give it to me, and I'll give you my.
Well, I don't have a link. I just mean in general. Like I haven't talked about it in a couple months. So
jeez, I haven't been following it at all. My theory has been I'm kind of in a unique spot where sometimes I get text messages from people saying, "Hey man, did you hear about this?" And blah 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 blah. It's I've got I'm good. I feel like I probably should be. Don't listen to me. Don't listen to my advice. This is subjective. It works for me, and I should probably be more in tune with respect to what's happening on the planet. But I'm trying to figure out me first.
Well, that's funny that you said that, because literally I was saying almost the exact same thing right before you jumped on, that like trying to figure out exactly what's going on a day-to-day basis with like each battle. Like it's not only is it impossible, it's pointless for like a random person. Like we don't need to know what unit or if the 13 or 14 of the tanks got destroyed. Like none of that really matters on a day-to-day basis. We need to pay attention to the general trend. Like, does it look like nuclear war is more likely today than last week? That sort of thing. But as a general, like I said, like, does it really matter to me and you if the Russians destroyed 8 Leopard tanks or 12 Leopard tanks or whatever? You know what I mean? Like, no, not really. So staying on top of every little news article and tidbit doesn't matter.
I agree. And what I find is most.
Oh, I lost audio on you.
Pushing button.
Oh, there you go. Yep, you're back, but picture went out.
My back picture went out. Zoom meeting.
There you is.
Keep setting. I put it into the Put it into this clip, and it keeps clipping the buttons on.
You like have to squeeze
when
squeeze
Bixby showed up, and it wanted to power off. And this, yeah. Well, I suppose it's going to hold, but. If you reverse engineer the format of what a lot of these channels are doing, it's really like it's almost like the pharmacist. You're at a different. We're above you. We are the authority. If you don't listen to us, bad things will happen.
Right.
And it's this sort of rhetoric that I see day in and day out with most of any news source. Really, it's designed more to captivate you, to bring you into their frame than anything else. Are there bits and pieces of information that I should probably be paying attention to? Here's a great example, Eric. And I don't know if you've been on Discord or not. You heard of this system? Okay. Supposedly it's this like great way to exchange information. And I
Yeah, I
thought,
know
well,
of it, but I feel like such a boomer when people are like, my Discords,
dude,
my whatever, my Twitter space. I'm like, what
Slack.
is all this stuff? They got Discords,
Yeah,
and now you got your there's another one that they do where you Substacks, and I'm like, I don't even know what all these are barely.
Substack.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
I do know
trust
what it
me.
is, and there's some people that write good stuff on there. It's basically blogs, right? So
Well, the avatars are the size of my, like they're some of the, not of the avatars, but just all these emoticons, all this sort of nonsensical information. It's like, I just give me the core, give me the ones and zeros.
right.
I'm ready, right? Like I want the raw data. And I feel like I'm trying to figure out this interface. It's like I've got a question, answer the question, and or I'll ask it out there, and you've got to filter through all this. It's like, I suppose it's like in reality, like information and
Yeah.
in reality, if you want the good stuff or the real stuff, you got to filter through 90% of bullshit. This is what I find a lot of news is, going back full circle to our original topic with Russian.
Yeah.
No, I don't know. What's the latest? What have you heard? Give it.
Well, I mean, the latest
nothing.
news is just that there's the Ukrainian is launching their basically what seems to be like a last ditch offensive, but it appears to be pushing the Russians back. But what I think, what I've seen so far is that the Ukrainians and NATO seem to focus on territory as a goal, like space. Like if we push this line back, that means we're winning. Whereas the Russians aren't necessarily focusing on area. Like obviously they want to take over area, but if they don't seem to think it's a big deal to drop back to a different area and defend from there and give up like seed, because we saw that earlier before the huge battle of Bakhmut. They would give up area, like the Ukrainians took over this big area again. So like whatever, we'll just drop back, artillery strike, and then slowly creep forward again. So it's hard to tell because we can't trust any numbers on casualties from either side. None of them, they're all contradictory. None of them make sense. So it's so hard to really tell. Like you said, none of the news is really trustworthy on either side in my mind.
Right. And there's a recent documentary created, it was in May, with Tristan Harris. And I imagine it's the other co-founder to the, I should find out the name of this company, this organization. Center for Humane Technology Ethics or something like that. It was the central focus or character in that documentary called The Social Dilemma. And basically his organization, I could find it here, co-founder, executive director of the Center for Humane Technology. And he was an ethicist, or at least that was his department in Google some time ago.
Okay.
And he discovered all these sort of contradictions. So to elaborate quickly on what you were saying is basically in his last big, aha presentation, he says, AI will be able to mimic people's faces and voices and like all the emulate things so well that we'll have a difficult time discerning reality from fiction.
We're almost there.
Look at
We're almost there.
He basically said, I think he said in the next year.
Yeah, so. I believe him. Think of how messy it's going to be for like political things when literally you could have a video of someone like raping someone or murdering someone on video, and they could just be like, deep fake. And it like, how would you know? And the only people who will know are the ones who have a in-depth knowledge and access to that type of technology that can maybe run different types of scans on video. Like normal people won't be able to have any way to tell if a video is real or not.
This is true, which creates a whole other epidemic of issues that how can we account for, namely forensics in videos, what to decipher if the video is real or not.
Right.
And they elaborate that on as well. They say, look, there's this, we came out with, social media, right? Facebook and Twitter and these sorts of things. The problems were, low self-esteem, addiction, like they go through the whole fucking line of things, right? They said, we're going into, and they consider that AI part one or phase one. And the second one that they elaborate on in this, I should I'll put the link in the chat for the 4 people that are interested in what I have to say.
Yeah, right.
But he elaborates on like all these sort of nefarious things that could happen afterwards.
Right.
So with the release of this sort of AI 2.0, as they go deeper and deeper and deeper down the brainstem, as they say.
Yeah, it'll be a weird times for sure. But it'll also open up a lot of opportunities. So it's weird to see how it'll go. Yeah,
that's another part too. Why I largely, it's people come up, it's because I have this little prepper. I got a prepper network here in Canada. They come up and they're like, "Hey man," they say they want to confide in me, right? Hey, did you hear about the blah 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 blah?
Yeah.
Like, I don't believe you, man. Like I don't. It's maybe I do, maybe I don't. what's real, what's not real. It's like I need to wait till the smoke clears. That makes
Right.
sense.
Yeah, you got to, like, you just got to take a
Before I look
glimpse
at
at the totality of everything and see which way it's shifting. Can't really rely on any particular tidbit.
Right. However, let's focus or redirect to what we do know is happening factually,
Yeah.
which is above and beyond Russia. We've got a lot of problems with coming up with our species. It doesn't have to be. I think, you know what, I think there's a lot of people that are probably doing quite well with
Yeah.
everything they're doing, but some of the population, we have food crisis, energy crisis. I hate to sound doom and gloom, but
No, it is all at once. Yeah.
these are, and psychological health, I think this could be a very big one in the near future, because this is irrespective of how you went through with COVID or people experienced it. It's, if we live in a different time period, you know, there was a time pre and there was a brand new time.
Right. In a weird way, though, I
Yes.
do think like the people who are already at the far ends of like mental problems, like poor mental health, having real problems might actually help snap them out of it. Like you don't have time to worry about like too much navel gazing and am I a boy or a girl if you don't have food on your plate, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that stuff doesn't, no one had those problems when you're getting chased by dinosaurs. You woke up worrying about what I was going to eat,
That's
how I was going
right.
to survive, not like, what does it mean to be human and a man and all this? Like you literally you don't have the luxury of that kind of navel gazing. So, but then there's other people who are, you know, perfectly fine existing. And now they're going to have to worry about these like basic survival level things, like not getting sick, you know, having enough money and food to actually survive for the day, that sort of thing. It wasn't the case before when, you know, in the first world countries.
Yeah. And I did some work for a gentleman that was from Nigeria, and the odd time at an organic farm, and it was good. I got a lot of sort of that agricultural experience. And sometimes his buddy just show up, and he's, you know, smokes weed when he shows up. Black dudes, they grow weed too. It wasn't just the weed though. There's, you know, a lot of different things. And clearly his friend was from Nigeria. I couldn't understand half the things the guy's fucking saying.
Yeah.
And I just remember him relaying the story that, you know, they used to have nothing. They used to sleep on a concrete floor, and like they were just like happy, ridiculously happy.
Right.
And oddly enough, I'm reading a few books right now. This one seems to be similar to that trajectory, in that sort of thought process anyway.
Right.
So it's one I'm reading right now.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like I said, so it might help some people, you know, get back to basics, realize what's truly important, you know, not worry about weird stuff. But it'll also, there's a lot of people who, you don't want to have to worry about survival level stuff. Caleb Block says every organic farm has a weed patch somewhere. Probably true.
Definitely. Probably something quite popular in a post. Well,
yeah.
Drugs in general would be very popular.
Anything, yeah.
SHTF situation.
Yeah.
I'm going to put this link in the description.
Go for it.
For anybody that cares to see it. It's the link directly to that.
I'll definitely check that out later.
Yeah, it's cool. It's there's all, you know, much smarter than me, that's for sure. Good evening, South Florida. I got a hello there. That's nice.
Yeah.
And Caleb said hello as well.
Yeah, Caleb, super chat said thanks for some
poutine. Yeah, do you have poutine down there?
Well, you can get it.
I'm Canada.
Yeah.
I'm from Canada, so
they definitely have it. It's not something that you can go into like McDonald's and get, but there's restaurants that have it. So they'll call, a lot of times they'll just call it poutine. It'll be some kind of like animal fry type thing, but yeah, it's definitely something you can get. Oh, speaking of Canada, how close are you to these massive fires?
Right. Yeah, that's funny. I was actually up north for a while there, and it was great. It's like I didn't smell anything. It was, and then I heard about it, but I kind of like, I just shut all that stuff up. Driving home, catch a piece of information, talking to people. Hey, what fire? What the fuck?
Yeah.
And I get back to my hometown, and didn't think about it. I think I got home later in the day. The next day I woke up, just opened the door, you know, watered the plants.
Yeah.
Yeah, people are like, oh,
yeah, this industry foaming.
Yeah, no, foaming, right?
Yeah.
What's going on? Coming down. It's all the apocalypse is real. That's why my shotgun, bang.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is pump action. I smelled like, it smelled like campfire, and
Yeah.
I smelled it. I remember smelling it like all day. I was like, it's fucking campfire.
Yeah, it's
It's not
trees,
fire,
right?
it's
Wood
campfire.
burning.
And then, yeah, then it occurred to me that it was these fires from like 2 hours away. It's cool.
Yeah. And like Mark
Wow, man.
Olson said, a lot of it, like New York was like look like Mars, or look like a scene from Blade Runner or something, how like hazy and orange it was. It was literally like a dystopian looking scene because it was
Right.
super orange and super thick smog.
I'm just an hour north of Toronto, and it wasn't too bad here. But so, but I didn't experience the whole thing as well. I've got a great, speaking of fires in Canada, and it's a shame too. I heard they arrested somebody.
Yeah, apparently it was some kind of arson or like at least negligent behavior that started it, right?
Fucking
So
unbelievable. Wow. I mean, to think it was intentionally set, it's just,
yeah, that's always jacked up. Pointless destruction. And it's affecting so many people, obviously, too. And I've heard that it's one of the biggest that's ever happened, right? Biggest wildfires, something huge.
I'm not too sure.
Yeah, I don't know if that's true or not, but I thought I'd seen that somewhere.
I'm very disappointed to hear that, because that's something
It's definitely causing
certainly failed at.
Oh, hey, Ryan Wiley, what's up, bro? He said pretty noticeable in DC for a few days.
Wow, all the way out there.
Yeah, you don't even have to use your last pack of cigarettes anymore. Get enough smoke from just walking outside.
Yeah, no kidding.
How's it going, man? How's it going? Arson and bad forest management is to blame. Yeah, I mean, you can have great forest management if people are out there trying to burn the shit down. It's going to be still going to be fires. But yeah, if you're not clearing dead wood and stuff, definitely can contribute to its ability to spread.
Yeah, Watchmen. I might have to get some property out there, Alberta.
Someone said Trudeau is in Ukraine. I hadn't heard that.
Yeah, I'm gonna send you. Can I send you something through Facebook?
Yeah, Facebook, or I still got that open. So Facebook or Gmail, whichever one you want. I still got the chat open, so go ahead and drop something in there if you want.
Sure. It got me thinking about the preparedness aspect of this as well, because we had what was that movie, Red Dawn?
Yeah.
One of their techniques was to flush them out with fire.
Yeah, right. Well, that's what he did in Batman too. Remember, he was talking about the guy in the jungle. He's like, "How'd you flush out the bandit?" And he's like, "We burned down the forest." Michael Caine. Oh yeah, I see that. The selfie.
Yep, Trudeau.
Yeah. So I don't know why he would be in Ukraine. You guys giving him money too? Billions of dollars? The Canadians, I mean, giving Ukraine money, or you just living vicariously
you're
through
asking
us?
me.
Yeah.
I thought you were asking randomly to be.
No, I said, why would Trudeau? Someone said he was in Ukraine. I'm like, why would he be in Ukraine? You guys giving him billions too?
No idea. There's, I don't think the older I get, the more I become of the belief that there's people speak, but I think there's different languages or communications. So there's definitely a different. It's like there's languages within languages, and I don't think that it's difficult for somebody like myself to take a man seriously when he doesn't even write his own words.
Yeah,
because it's the equation of being an actor, really. So
yeah, you're just at some level you're a fraud. You know what I mean? Even
right.
if it's
exactly. So look at why is he in Ukraine? No idea.
I'm not even sure that he is. As someone Mark Olson said he'd heard that he was in Ukraine, but all these Western leaders are going there at some point for the photo op, so it wouldn't surprise me.
We got these different summits. They'll get together, want to save the seals or the fucking pandas or whatever it is, right? And they spend I think the French president. Look, at nothing against France. They spent, or maybe it was in Canada.
Nothing against France. You seriously got nothing against France? Come on now, you gotta have something.
This particular instance, they spent like $1 million on some sort of like presentation or like a fountain that they put
Macron.
in. Right, that dude, right? And it's like, listen, I could be misquoting here, but it's unbelievable how foolish they are with money, and something I've learned the hard way. So there's certainly a lack of accountability and a lack of.
That is the problem. I would say you can expand that to like the banking system, government,
So it's all
if the
going to
people
shit.
who caused the
That's it.
problems were the ones who had to deal with them, none of these things would be an issue. You know, that's the accountability is the main problem in the world.
So where's that, like, look at where does that lead our species? Is it progressively getting better, or is it becoming more,
I think
dismal and
some
whatever?
things are getting better. I think we just go through cycles, you know, pendulum swings back and forth as we progress. Like some things like technology has undeniably been on a consistent upward path. You know what I mean? Barring some cataclysmic event, we're going to continue to get more knowledge as a species, more technology, whatever. So some things you can say improve, you know, life expectancy overall is improved, but you know, you could always have some
Fair.
crazy shit that happens that wipes out our knowledge. But we, in terms of behavior, we still see just
For fucking murder rates.
cycles. Yeah, exactly.
Fucking...
Murder, death, kills, like Demolition Man. MDKs.
MDK.
Yeah.
MDK.
You know what's interesting though, before I forget, is more interesting than Trudeau potentially being in Ukraine is how much I've heard about Zelensky not being in Ukraine. He's doing all these like potentially money-raising trips, but some people seem to think that it's a sign of him being worried or not being super popular in Ukraine and not wanting to go back for, you know, because he feels like he's at risk. I don't know how much of that may or may not be true, but it's definitely interesting that he's spending a lot of time outside of Ukraine.
He's a leader. He think he should be in Ukraine fighting the battle.
I mean, regardless of what I think, it's just interesting of why he would choose to do that. You know what I mean? Why he wouldn't be there.
Matthew Stone like an EMP.
Yeah, I mean that could, but even an EMP, it wouldn't happen to the entire. No one is going to EMP the entire planet. Even like a horrible coronal mass ejection would only be like half the planet that was facing the sun or whatever, right? You might get some bouncing around.
What if it lasted
right?
several days and it's spinning?
Yeah, I don't think it would wipe out. I mean, I would definitely be a big problem.
That'd be kind of fucking funny.
It's just spinning while roasted the whole time, like a rotisserie.
You could have half the planet being, you got like 12 hours left, and everybody else is getting screwed.
And you see it coming, you're like, no, gotta wrap all my stuff in aluminum foil I got 12 hours left.
Wow.
Yeah. You see New Zealand go dark, and you're like, all right, I got 8 hours.
You got 8 hours. People in New Zealand, it's just the last transmissions from New Zealand. Wow.
But yeah, barring something crazy like that, like a worldwide cataclysm, a lot of things are trending up. But who knows? Maybe AI will go Skynet and wipe everything out and start at zero. You know.
Well, I'm not too sure how they're going to do that.
Yeah. I'm not one of these AI like I don't have an apocalyptic view of it. For the most part.
There's a great stat here. I'm going to go back to the beginning of this video, and I know it'll pop up here in a second because I remember I just watched it again last night. And it talks specifically about AI and its correlation or connection to the death of humanity.
Yeah, I think more likely than like AI becoming evil and trying to kill us is that we'll make like really realistic sex bots and everyone will just die out. They won't want to work anymore.
It seems to be the leading reason why we create certain technologies. It's the video, internet. 50% of AI researchers believe there's a 10% or greater chance that humans go extinct from our inability to control AI. This is like more than half the engineers that designed a plane. This is a metaphor that he used. And they showed a pretty graphic photo of a plane on the ground. More than half the engineers that engineered the plane said, well, there's a 1 in 10 chance it's not going to work. Would you get, get into that plane?
Well, what's funny is that from everything I've seen from AI, like if you get to like a real general artificial intelligence that is a true consciousness, I think that there's just as now it's like a being of an animal of some new kind. So there's just as much chance that it'd like humans, and like we try to protect other creatures on the planet. We don't want to wipe out everything. I mean, we do wipe out a lot accidentally a lot of times too, but it seems like more often the AI is just like some super autistic nerd and it just makes decisions that way. Like, did you hear about that Air Force simulation that they ran with AI?
No, what happened with the Air Force simulation with AI?
Yeah, so they're running the simulation the simulation was completely within the computer, so there weren't actually drones flying around, but it was making decisions and stuff. So they're running the simulation, and they had trained the AI like to bomb this certain type of target. This is your enemy. This is what you have to do. But before you actually drop the bomb, a human being has to sign off on the decision. Say, yes, drop the bomb or whatever. So the AI started getting that since this mission was destroy these targets, it started getting upset that it wasn't always given the command to drop the bomb.
So then it started deciphered.
Well, yeah, then it decided well, this is all saying like what its decisions are in the code or whatever. So then it says, then it tries to take out the human operators. Like it tries to kill the people who are telling it what to do. And not because they're saying like evil, but like literally it's like an evil genie. If you're like world peace, it's like, oh, get rid of all the people. That's so then they changed its rules and said, okay, now there's another rule. You can't attack us, which for some reason wasn't in there to begin with. But so it wasn't ever breaking the rules. It was just interpreting them in like these bizarre ways. So then they said, so you can't take us out. So now, but it didn't change what it wanted to do. So then it started bombing the communications towers so the real humans couldn't talk to it. So like it's like so, but at the same time, like it never broke its rules. So if you can anticipate how it's thinking, like it's like a weird, evil, autistic genie, then you could have anticipated that. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like just like that there's this old canard about the Soviet Union or one of these communist countries in like China or whatever, giving rules to the factories on what they had to do. And since pay was completely unrelated to the actual productivity, they would just try to find the easiest way to meet their quotas. So if they were like, we need 100 pounds of nails a day, they just made one giant nail. It was 100 pounds. I'm like, here you go. So then they're like, no, we want 1 million nails a day. So then like, all right, well, they made the smallest nails possible. They just turned them all, you know what I mean? So that's how the AI kinds of it just finds the easiest path to follow the rules. It's not being evil necessarily.
Right. Yeah. And I recall seeing a TEDx talk that sort of elaborated on visual concepts with exactly what you're saying.
Right.
And you're correct. We could say, don't kill any human AI and be like, okay, well, removing all of a person's limbs and then healing.
Right. He's killing them. Yeah. He's got a heartbeat. He's not dead.
Yeah.
It depends on how it interprets the rules. Right. I think the biggest control part will be like to do a Skynet, regardless of how evil the AI is or whatever, how smart it is, it still has to be physically connected, to the real world. You know what I mean? So that's where the cutoff will be. Like you could have the AI want to do whatever it wants, but like in a car, like the car that I have, it could never be controlled by AI. I physically have to move the stick shift. So it would have to have a robot body of some kind to do that. So as long as you have a disconnect like that and they don't make robot bodies.
Right. Well, I'm thinking more, that would be sure. You wouldn't want to give them complete control. I'm thinking more on a different perspective or angle, which would be the simulations that may run in real time. Now they take a snapshot of as whatever data they can gather and said, okay, well, if we did this action, what actions could we take AI so that we could dominate this country, or so that we could XYZ, and play out every single scenario for how to get there. And I think this sort of information or psychological simulated warfare scenarios could possibly happen. What is it? What do we get in the chat there?
Someone, Mark Olson, that was talking about the weird interpretation of rules, said like the Marines adding the chlorine ampules to the water buffaloes in Beirut, but never breaking them. So it'd be like add the chlorine to the water buffalo and put the whole bag in there or whatever, and not actually dumping the chlorine. Freaking crayon eaters, the Marines.
Sounds like something AI would do.
Yeah, and there's definitely, we had those in the Army. And it's funny, my dad always had a saying, like, if you try to make something idiot proof, they just come out with a better idiot. Yeah, exactly. Find the easiest possible way to follow the rules. Like they're in that movie. There's this movie called Real Genius. I don't know if you saw the old Val Kilmer movie. He was in his early 20s or whatever. It's about this MIT type school where all these super genius kids are. And
he gave his professor an apple
and it blows up or whatever. Yeah,
that's right.
But there's one scene in it where that professor is like, I want to see more of you around the lab. And he goes, fine, I'll gain weight. Like see more of you. So you can just interpret. So you would have to foresee that type of kind of weird.
Oh, sure. Well, listen,
you could head it off.
There'd be some growing pains there for sure. With AI, and I think was it JJ something? I think he mentioned his concerns about AI, and to be honest with you, it's been the last few years been the top 3 concerns as a preparedness individual.
Yeah, I know Canadian Prepper is really big. He's always talking about the AI. There's definitely it reminds me of like training the AI rules. Reminds me of some dude made a video series where he would tell his kids to give him instructions on how to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. And these were like 6 or 8 year old kids. And then he would follow them like a stupid AI robot or whatever. So they'd be like, put the peanut butter on the bread. And he would like take the jar and set it on the loaf. You know what I mean? So then they'd be like, no, spread it on the bread. And he would like spread it on the outer part of the bread instead. And they'd be like, no, like, and refine And it's a good learning experience, but it also shows you the kind of critical thinking you have to do and how someone would interpret or could theoretically interpret something as
as
in
as
weird
a bot
ways.
would.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just some entity might.
I think it's humorous right now, but I think they're probably going to pass that level at some point. AI would, and I think we'll reach that point. Haha, fucking crayon eaters.
Yeah, the Marines. You never heard that? The Marines are crayon eaters for whatever reason. I don't know where that. Everyone has the disparaging terms for the other branches of service. The Marines is supposed to be like the dumbest of them all, according to if you're in the Army or Air Force or whatever.
Some of these guys,
we got to get them somehow because they always get the action. So Marines are badass. So we gotta nail rag on them somehow. We get the Air Force for being soft. The Navy for being gay. So
the Navy's gay.
I mean, that's always been how we make fun of them because it's all a bunch of dudes. It's all a bunch of dudes stuck in a boat, So
on a boat, sure.
Yeah, or a submarine or whatever.
Yeah, not my cup of tea. I don't think I could ever do the Navy just because I've got this inherent fear of being, sitting in the ocean, in the middle of nowhere, like everybody else does. I'd probably be Army if I were, listen, if it was like 20 years old and I could redo this, right?
That's what I did, and then just wished I joined the Air Force like everyone else in the Army.
Yeah, how come? What was it?
It's
about
just
the Air Force?
easier, and there's a lot more women, and like you go into their bases, and they're always nicer. Yeah, there's considerably more women in the Air Force, and Mark Olson says the Air Force is an armed service. They're a service. I don't know if they have it. You never heard crayon eaters? I don't know where that one came from, but yeah, that was
must be an American thing.
Yeah. No, it's for Marines specifically, from other branches of service making fun of them. But is that just me? Yeah, and someone says it's well known the Navy is gay. Seamen, come on. That's the joke. Like, what's long, hard, and full of semen? A submarine.
Yep. Ha ha ha.
You come here for the highbrow commentary.
I remember people that actually joined the Navy. It's like, yeah, man, my mother doesn't have to, just like to get away with this sort of.
That's how the military is in general. Yeah, get out of it. And I know some people who joined like around like Vietnam era because it's a lot less likely that you would see like crazy combat when you're on the ships. You know what I mean?
Right.
So just go instead of wait to get drafted, go ahead and join the Navy or the Air Force or something.
Yeah, no, I honestly, if I couldn't, too much discipline, couldn't do it. Navy, Army, Air Force. Maybe if I was 20.
Yeah, right. Well, I'm too old now. Yeah, too old for this shit. As Danny Glover might say.
Anyways, dude, what have you and Dan been up to when you've been chatting?
Nothing. Same thing. Just talking over the usual. Like I said, I think 2 weeks ago was the last time I had him on, and I just did a solo one real quick last time, and just talking about what's going on in the world.
I recall something. I see you got the Killdozer shirt on.
Yes, Killdozer Day was June 4th.
That's what I saw on your social media or Facebook there. That was the day?
Yeah, June 4th, 2004 is the day he went on the Rampage with his armored Killdozer.
All right. And for
Granby, Colorado.
30 people watching. Do you want to elaborate on what happens?
Yeah, if you guys don't know the story, there's a Netflix documentary. Yeah, so he was a some kind of contracting or concrete business. I don't remember exactly. And he got ensnarled in a bunch of zoning disputes where the city was just railroading him and basically ruined his business. And he had no what would be considered reasonable recourse. So then he not locked himself, but he spent a year in his barn armoring this giant Kubota bulldozer. He put like an inch of steel, 10 inches of concrete, and then another inch of steel. And he had cameras on the outside with dust rigged up, like air rigged up to blow dust off the lenses and stuff. Genius. And then he went around flattening the whole town, but not randomly. He went after like the city buildings and the buildings of the other businesses that were, I guess, on the opposite side of the dispute, and just flattened the whole city. And they couldn't do anything. They were like, oh, we don't know, we can't. People tried like park big trucks in the way, and he just knocked them out of the way and stuff. Pretty wild. But yeah, so how's everything been going with you, man? Keep on rocking in the free world. Been an interesting year, you said?
Right. It just New Year, it was all about this year's just about money and getting ripped. That's it. Nice. So hot yoga, started that January. Fucking love it. Doing it every day. I think I did it twice.
Nice.
Sometimes I do it twice. Like it's fucking going crazy. This is there today. And the gym, just getting jacked and eating, nice, I'll tell you what, Good point in question.
Yeah.
Just today, what did you eat today? What's on the?
I ate. I don't eat much early in the day. I'm not a big eater in general, but I just had egg.
Yeah.
I make these egg sandwiches, so I lean pretty heavily protein and fat. I try to keep carbs to around 25% of my calories, but I don't count currently.
Okay.
Luckily never had an issue where my weight tends to spiral up out of control as long as I don't go nuts. So my issue has always been gaining weight, like trying to gain good weight. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, it's a fucking struggle, man. And
yeah. But I don't. If I stop working out, I don't get fat. I kind of just waste away. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'll get
that's the
skinny
problem is you got to
because I'm not a big eater, but I actually need to eat more when I'm trying to, work out.
You know why? Because and here's the thing with eating more is that just like I get fucking wiped. It's
Yeah,
hard.
you get
You get like whistled. Exactly.
They're tired of chewing, and you're
I got the Killdozer link from Count Dankula,
Nice.
I think it is. I think I did this like a year ago as well. But the intro with this has the gentleman's voice. I forget what his name is.
Marvin Heemeyer was his name. His actual
Right.
voice.
Okay.
Oh, and
Yeah,
Chris
he's got his
said-
little speech.
Yeah, go for it.
I was just gonna say he's got a little speech at
Oh,
the
cool.
beginning of that.
I'll definitely should check that out. And he didn't weld himself in. He lowered it in. It was way too heavy to be moved, and he had like a winch, and he lowered the lid on from inside the Killdozer, and then he knew it was one way. He ended up killing himself, which is the only part I don't like about it. Despite the moniker Killdozer, the only person he killed was himself. So he was just going on sending a message, destroying the buildings. He wasn't actually trying to.
Amazing.
Yeah. But yeah, I actually did a 3-day fast, a 72-hour fast not too long ago, because we traveled home and I'd been eating kind of shitty and I just wanted to clear out, and it is my personal hero, Wiley. That's why I have the shirts. And yeah, so that was interesting because I'd never done, it most certainly was the longest I'd ever been in my life without food, because I haven't ever purposely done a fast. I'm sure I've gone 24 hours before for certain reasons, but never 72. So it was an interesting experience.
72. I don't think I've done 72 before.
Yeah.
Any particular
Thanks,
reason
Caleb.
why?
Yeah, like I said, I knew I had I've been traveling and I had been eating like crap, and I knew I wanted
It's
to
just because of the foods overseas. To get back into your Western diet.
Right, and I never had done it, so I knew I had a friend who did it and was posting about it, and I knew it was would be the longest I'd done. So for just to see, for preparedness reasons, like a dry run of what it'd be like to not eat and still work out and stuff like that. So it's an interesting experience, but no real important reason. I just wanted to do it because I had never done it before.
Cool, man. Good for you. Yeah, it's.
And I made a big mistake though, and went shopping like 48 hours in or 50 hours into the fast, and just spent like $300 at the store. I was like, ooh, that looks good. I was so hungry.
Wow.
I just bought everything.
What's the first thing? What is the first thing you ate after the fast?
I had a 1 pound lamb steak just stuck with meat because I wanted to roll right back into eating healthy again. You know what I mean? Which for me is just mostly meat and then a little bit of other stuff here and there. It's real protein and fat heavy, which my body seems to handle well. I don't have a problem with carbs, but I keep them low seems to be best.
Talking with some preppers, we have a solution to the cannibalism epidemic.
Okay.
And came up with this because nobody would want to eat a human, right? Or at least you would want to. So get an AIDS bracelet. The scenario. No, that's not a bad idea. Actually, I didn't even think about that. But technically, if you cook the shit out of it shouldn't matter.
Yeah, true.
AIDS is what? It's a virus.
It's a virus. Yeah, if you actually got above the 180 for however many minutes, it would kill it.
Yeah.
Can't have that rare human steak though. You gotta go well done.
Right. But if you'd have to have pigs. If you had pigs, then
Just
you
feed
could
them to
feed
the
the
pigs.
Human, feed them to the pigs, and then eat the pigs.
You could do that with like the soldier flies. They'll eat dead flesh. The black soldier fly larvae. Chickens would eat humans if you made the pieces small enough. Fish, you could feed fish.
Yeah.
You could feed pigs.
That's a good idea.
You could feed any carnivores if you were trying to raise dogs or whatever for meat or whatever you could eat. Yeah. So there's lots of other animals that you could feed them to.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of productive things you could do with the human body.
Yeah.
After it's dead.
Get some cow. Mark Olson said, "Did you check for ketones, Eric?" No, I didn't, but I mean, you would, once you're in, past 24 hours in, certainly 50 plus hours in, you're absolutely in ketosis. So I didn't feel a need to check for it. but your body is, you would have no glycogen or anything stored. Your stomach would be empty. So
Yep. You ever get your levels checked out, looking at testosterone levels, things like that?
yeah, I've got general blood work and everything. So definitely when I get more money, I'm going to get pharmacologically enhanced to the max, but I'm just too poor right now.
I'm actually looking into TRT or
Yeah.
testosterone replacement therapy.
Yeah. Yeah.
A reoccurring theme I've heard just from different sources seems to be the wave of the future for older
Yeah.
guys like me.
Especially, yeah, once you get to our age, and it's like, it's something that I don't want to do unless I'm prepared to never get off it again. Now, it
Okay.
is true that for like preparedness reasons, I'd be worried like what happens if you stop taking it. And it seems for most of the people who didn't have an issue to before that, most people will recover and go back to their level once you stop taking it. Like you'll feel shitty for a while as your levels naturally, but most people wouldn't be permanently like repressed. They would go back to whatever their levels were before. You don't want to say like, oh, I'm going to try it for a couple of years and then come off it. You know, you don't want to jump on
Right.
unless you're ready to do it forever. But in a disaster scenario, if you had to stop taking it, you wouldn't just die, and you wouldn't even necessarily just stay repressed forever levels. Your body would eventually, for most people, would start picking it up again. And so yeah, so I'm definitely looking into that for in the future. But like I said, it's not something that you want to be able to do regular blood work and take other things to do all these tests. You don't want to do it if your budget's like $30 a month, you know. You want to be able to do it right. It's not expensive though, generally speaking, just for the service. There's a lot of places doing it now.
I have no idea. Brand new in that sphere or realm of thought. So I feel like it's something I should look at or at least entertain.
Yeah, it's definitely, and I definitely would want to jump on something so my hair doesn't fall out, you know.
Yeah. Oh, you got rocking hair.
Yeah, no, but yeah, exactly. But like most male pattern baldness is androgen related. So if you like jack up your test levels,
really?
it can for some people cause hair like male pattern hair loss.
Okay.
But then you could take stuff like finasteride, which is like Propecia and stuff.
No, I'm good. I'm
No, I mean, but if you started juicing and then it like thinning out.
Yeah, no, I'm good. All natural. Just let it do its
Me too.
thing.
Right now. Oh, you just let it go and go Jason Statham.
Yeah, no, I'd shave it all off.
That's what I mean.
You know,
the
really
Jason
started to go bald or anything.
That's what I mean. That's what he does. He just shaves it.
Yeah. I'm good like this.
I don't think I could. It's all I can't give up my hair.
Yeah, I know. Here you got rocking hair. But
So,
I
I'd
wouldn't
watch out.
I wouldn't want to do TRT, risking that, just like you said, exactly. That's okay.
It's not a guarantee. It's just a possible, because it depends on your genetics whether your like hair follicles are going to be affected by it anyway. Not everyone is. But if you have that, then like it's androgen related. So if you jack up your androgen levels, it can affect it.
Yeah, it's just a matter of time before we take a pill and everybody's gonna have as much hair as they
mega
want.
Jacked. Well, it looked like Liver King.
Or jacked.
Liver King. Have you seen him?
I haven't seen Liver King. No.
No, you haven't seen oh, you have?
No, I haven't. What's the Liver King? All right,
It's this dude who was like on social media always talking about how he eats nothing but like raw beef testicles and raw meat. But he was for a few years he got really big because he swore he was natty, which everyone was like, give me a break, bro. And then it finally came out, like these emails between him and his like some doctor about all the crazy shit he's on, like HGH, Winstrol, like he's just juiced to the fucking gills, juiced to the fucking gills. And you can tell this by one look at him. This guy's like fucking
wow,
juiced to the max. Which I was like, I don't care, but don't fucking blow smoke on my ass and tell me that guy's not juicing.
Look at it, his veins.
Yeah, I know, like bicep veins, like a garden hose wrapped around his arm. Tell me he's natural.
And
like nowadays I think you can certainly, like, not necessarily all the shit that he's taking, but you can, because there is people think of like taking TRT as getting on steroids or whatever, but like there is an optimal range for all these like hormones in your body, and a lot of people are below optimal, so taking TRT and other things can actually improve your overall health. Certainly your overall like vitality and appearance stuff. Like, yeah, if you take Ronnie Coleman levels and 3,000 milligrams or whatever, that's not good for you. But there is a ideal range, and most people in modern Western society are below that.
Exactly. And even estrogen too. There's a lot of that floating around too much. A lot of levels that are out of whack. And that's
estrogen has like neuroprotective benefits. Like people think of just estrogen bad, testosterone good, and it's not that simple. Like men and women both have ideal estrogen and testosterone levels. They're much different for men and women, but you don't just want to block one out and max out the other and have your body all out of whack.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's more what I'm talking about is fine tuning those levels or those numbers, because I
Exactly.
think that would be sort of the next step into, inward
Yeah.
physiological health.
Right.
Um, yeah, yoga's done fucking wonders, man. It's great.
Yeah.
A lot of beautiful woman,
Yeah. I was gonna say, how's the
and
talent in your yoga class?
it's good. I just got out of something, so I'm I'm just freestyling it right now. But there's
Nice.
there's a lot. You know what it is, man? There's a
Yeah.
lot of fucking like women out there. They're just a lot of fucking red flags. But I go to something like yoga, it's like and it's a weird situation because you don't want to hit on a girl in yoga and then you got to see her like every fucking time or whatever, right?
After you're
Um,
weird. After you creep
yeah,
on
after you're weird, right?
then
Yeah,
your
after I
class
look up on
behind him, like,
Facebook and
hey,
yeah, and show up at her house, it just
right.
becomes weird. Um, so I'm just like I'm just being cool right now, and well, I guess what I was trying to say. It's nice that there's a lot of nice girls there,
Yeah.
and they're at least they're in the right spot. They're trying.
Yeah, and at least one red flag you can cross off the list
Mm.
if they're not a ham planet. They're in shape, they're working out. So
Yeah, exactly. They're in that. Yeah, they're going in that
Destiny says Rodney
direction.
Coleman, little black dude. What you talking about, Willis? No, that's Gary Coleman, right? Rodney Coleman's the like 8-time Mr. Olympia, mega
That's right.
huge jack dude.
Very cool. Very cool.
Let AI adjust your hormone levels. And honestly, I was talking about that with a friend of mine. That will be the future. Is you will have like bespoke kind of health based on your genetics and AI constantly monitor with like ongoing monitoring based on your specific genetics and everything, and who like almost real time adjustment of like minerals, vitamins, whatever, all that stuff.
Superhuman.
Yeah, so that's where it'll be useful is stuff like that. Like imagine like an AI is already better than most doctors. Like the chat GPT is literally going to be better than most doctors you would go to in terms of like if you accurately describe your symptoms to it, it's telling you what's wrong with you.
You probably have a system that automatically injects you with the minerals and vitamins, everything like all on autopilot.
Yeah.
Something attached to your chest, like Darth
Although
Vader.
I was just
right?
telling my girlfriend, like these people who like the Elon. What do you think about the Elon Musk like brain chips and stuff? You're going to be early adopter?
That's funny. That's what I was going to segue into. Actually, was specifically that. Oh, people seem to be lining up and wanting to do something like that. So it's very. No, fuck no. I'm
okay.
all organic, man.
Yeah. Well, I like the amount of trouble I have with this thing and like trying to use my computer just didn't work last night. And after do I want to have to like turn off and turn my brain back on again 3 times a day and then have ads pop up that I can't unsee because it's plugged into my brain?
Yeah, no, exactly. No, that's
that reminds me. There was one I've sent to some people that was a meme or something. Someone talked about how they were talking about like ads that you could like project onto the night sky or whatever. Let me see if I can find the picture. And I was like, that would be horrible. That's some dystopian shit if you ask me. But someone was like, the day I look up at like the glorious night sky and see like an ad is the day I'm gonna become a terrorist.
Probably.
And I was like, yeah, Uncle Ted was right. This one, yeah, it says, I'll have to send it to you I don't have memes for you guys today, sorry. This is new advertising concept would turn the night sky into ads. People would see brands instead of seeing stars when they look up. And some guy replied, if I ever look up at the night sky and see a space billboard, I'm becoming a terrorist. So funny, but also true. Mm-hmm. And I also happen to see that movie. Like are you familiar with the whole Mandela effect thing?
Sure.
Okay, so I had a really, really strong Mandela effect moment yesterday where it was announced that Ted Kaczynski had died at 81. And that was like, you might as well have told me like Michael Jackson just died, because I was like, what? No, this dude's been dead in my reality, he died in prison like years ago.
Okay.
And I was like, totally caught me off guard. Like, what? He was still alive? No, what? Wow. It was really weird. I could just be stupid.
No, I don't think so. I mean,
but that one definitely was like bewildering to me. Like, really was like,
I would have
sworn he had already died. I could have really thought that
Ted Kaczynski?
Yeah, the Unabomber. He died yesterday, apparently.
It was a different Ted.
No, it was the Ted. It was Uncle Ted. Uncle Teddy.
Uncle Ted.
The Unabomber himself.
I don't know if I call him uncle.
Yeah, I know. He was had some very prescient views about the left and liberalism and technology. Unfortunately, his methods left something to be desired, blowing up random people. He could have at least
Well,
focused his explosions on people who
right. Could have
deserved
been,
it.
yeah, could have been more
more like
considerate.
more like
Right.
our friend Marvin Heemeyer. But Mark says Ted was a
Like you
genius. He
want
was,
to be,
yeah,
you
he
want
was
to get on the
literally,
list.
yeah, Ted, he said Ted was a genius. He was literally a genius. He was like a professor at MIT with like a 165 IQ or something. But yeah, and he pretty much nailed how society's turning out and the problems that technology is creating and the left controlling it. But like I said, the way to deal with that is not to send bombs to random people and blow them up. That's kind of a little bit of a jump. But he was right about most of his stuff.
What do you think the correct way is to deal with it?
I mean, he could have at least attacked the people that he saw as creating these problems. Not that that would necessarily be, it certainly wouldn't be legal, but it would be a lot more morally justifiable if you say there's a problem out here. Like, why are you just blowing up random people? I guess in his mind, it was like he's trying to get people away from technology and scare them off technology to save humanity or whatever. But so he was like very against technology and he made his bombs out of like wood and things like that. They actually would have been way more devastating if he hadn't used like natural materials because he was trying to make them like as simple as possible.
Wow. Incredible.
Yeah. And then his own brother gave him up, recognized his writing in the manifestos that were like in the news, fucking sold him out.
You sound disappointed.
Well, they weren't, yeah, I guess they weren't 100% random, but they weren't like with people that really made sense to attack in my mind. It wasn't like the going after Miles Bennett Dyson to stop Skynet from being made. T2.
Right, which is a whole other discussion, AI. And
yeah, he was targeting people who were like in tech, but I mean, it's not like, as far as I remember, I'll have to look up again, but it's not like he was like went after Elon Musk or Steve Jobs, and even if he did, that doesn't really make sense. So I will concede the point that I guess they were logically chosen,
interesting
but
thing,
not in a
Steve
way that I
Jobs.
would consider to be effective. Let's put it that way. Even if you accept his premise, which I don't 100% accept that blowing up individuals would stop it anyway. You know what I mean? Like even if you killed Elon Musk, like they're eventually going to make brain chips and all this other stuff too. So the way to do would be to make people afraid of, spread knowledge about why these things are bad ideas and things like that. But there's certain things that are just going to happen, I think. And
I think people will take the easy. People will just take the easy fix. I think people will take the less they'll find a way to motivate them to do it anyway. It's kind of like
think of how hard it is to avoid using this shit when I know how bad it is and how much the government's controlling it and everything. You know what I mean?
The socially inept part is the most difficult area for me with this documentary. The link that I sent earlier is they talk about how like you're expected going into grade school, whatever grade you're in, you're expected to have certain apps. It's just so you're socially, you'll be left out of the circle.
I don't even know what I would do if I had kids.
There's
I wouldn't want them to be using that shit. You know what I mean? But you don't want them to like,
sort of this indoctrination. Exactly. So I'm not too sure what the solution is there. So we're all sort of being funneled into it,
right,
in one way, shape, or form. There's huge repercussions, and we're entering different stages where we don't even, as they discuss, and they're leading the fucking frontier of this. They say we can't even conceive of the sort of issues we're going to have. So I have no idea what the solution is, dude.
Yeah, and like I said, just like we
yoga and the gym seem to be
touch grass. That's the solution.
Right
Go outside and touch grass. Like when the era that we were born in,
grass.
You have like we didn't have really a choice about like having social security numbers or some of this other stuff. You know what I mean? It was just we were born into this world, and now people are being born into that. And soon, eventually, they'll be born in where they have their brain chip implanted when they're still an infant. You know what I mean? So it's going to be the way of it, probably, unfortunately.
Fucking it. Wow,
here's one for
Amish 2.0 or something.
Yeah, maybe that's
just going to be.
But I mean, it's not that this stuff that tech is inherently bad. I think it's just when you add in human nature, it leads you down a certain path most of the time. But like technology solves a lot of problems too. But speaking of technology, what's your thought there? We keep hearing alien stuff. Have you seen that the whistleblower came out? There's aliens craft in the U.S. government's control. What do you think about all that? Froze up on me. Or are you just shocked by the aliens? Oh, there you are.
Didn't even know it existed. What's the? It seems like every 6 months in the last few years has been an alien story.
Right,
Something
and
about
that's what I
aliens,
mean. Like, what do you make of
this.
that?
D- I don't.
Yeah,
I'm
you just don't
skeptical
bother.
from the whole. Okay, dude, tell me, dude, if there's a legitimate link, and this isn't a question of popularity
Right.
or this is a question of credibility, and it's. I think if it were actual true, would make some sort of mainstream wave across all the networks, wouldn't it? If there was
I mean, that's
really a
currently
UFO
that's
plane,
currently what's happening. I mean, they don't have the proof, quote unquote, proof is a whistleblower, so they don't have like evidence. The craft are still obvious, supposedly in Area
okay, well, that's no
51 or
different.
whatever.
Yeah, that's no different than these other
Right.
whistleblowers that have over the
But
years,
like
right?
we like you said, we keep hearing about this now, like a lot over the past few years. They're trickling this stuff out. So what's the game? You know, what's the agenda?
I'm not. What do you think?
I
Do you
think
think it's really
obviously I think
okay?
they have
Well,
an agenda. They have an agenda to allowing this information out, letting it out. That doesn't mean that most or all of it's fake. I would not. I'm one of those people who I have no ego invested in whether there's aliens or not. Like I don't need them to be true, you know, like, oh, this has to be true. And I'm not one of those people who it would
right.
shatter my worldview or my religion or whatever if it turns out to be true. So I really don't care either way. I would guess they're probably, we've heard so much about random stuff over the years. Usually all of this stuff has some kernel of truth to it, you know. So I wouldn't be surprised if there was some sort of, and the one that's most convincing to me is if you've heard of that guy, Bob Lazar. He was like,
That's the other guy he was another whistleblower. Yeah, he's got a great.
Yeah, but he was less of
on
like a
Joe Rogan.
whistleblower. And the reason I think that his stuff was interesting to me is because he said originally back when he first started saying this stuff that the thing that was like when they were studying this anti-gravity propulsion system or whatever in one of the craft, they didn't know how it worked, but they found out that at least they knew that the fuel system was this element. Like it was either element 115 or element 151, whatever the hell it was. It was one that didn't exist. It doesn't exist. It's not a real element. And that was what they used to, at the time, it was not on the periodic table. And since then, they've managed to create / discover unstable isotopes of that element. So that, you know, they created it and vanished instantly, but they know that that element at least does exist. So it's possible that there's, and that was years, maybe even like decades after he first said it. So I'm like, that gives him some credibility. You know what I mean? Saying that something exists that doesn't ever exist or isn't known to exist and is later proved that it can't exist. So, but he may or may not be a nut. But like I said, and I think that there's obviously an agenda to them releasing the stuff. So we'll know when the aliens show up and they're like, oh, yes, there are aliens. And they say you have to be vegan and have a one world government and being gay is better than being straight. Then we'll know it's, that's what I'm expecting. Whether or not they're real or not. I do suspect some truth to it.
I'll stick with pussy. Thank you.
Yeah, right.
Pussy and tits. TNA.
Yeah. The aliens can have
It suspects some truth. That's a big leap, though. Listen, it'd be great. It'd be great if there was if it was a government operation, or let's just say it was in the control of one government. Of course, they would never want it to leak anywhere because of the advantages from a technological perspective. That's a no-brainer.
But that's another thing that people are saying, like,
maybe
so the
they've
government
solved the energy
has,
crisis, right?
and that's probably another, yeah, it's like, but the government has, okay, so they have like 12 craft or something, is what they're saying. And like, why is the government the only one? Like, our government, are we the only ones who ever got it? They all just had, like, how are these things crashing all the time? Like, they're these super technology. How the hell did we get our hands on 12 of them? You know what I mean? Are these like drunk teenage aliens that they're like, leave the Earths alone? And they like, ha ha ha, and go crash their saucer or whatever on a weekend trying to impress the chicks, you know?
Right.
Or are they drones, maybe?
No idea.
They're just probe droids, you know?
Muller's got the great poster that summarizes my sentiments or belief system, which is I want to believe. Sure, it'd be great. You know, at least we could put it this way. If we had some, not like District 13 or District 9, we had these like wild aliens with these super amazing weapons. And
yeah, Wonder Guy says, example. Why are you even asking questions?
Dune is probably.
No, go ahead. I was just reading a comment.
I was just going to say Dune would be a better example because it would be kind of good if we had an alien intervention, because it'd be like, you know, humans, because stuff, you know, fucking up the planet. You need to get shit together. wear black boots and a fucking V on her shirt or whatever the fuck it is, right? Like, and we have no patience for, 3 strikes,
Right.
you're out, and
Did
that's
you
it. We need to clean up the species right away if we be a part of the Federation or whatever it
yeah,
is.
well, if you have you read Dune? Because in the
I never read it.
part of
I
it,
saw the
I never
movie.
read it, but I know that in the original book, part of the the universe, that world building, is that AI is illegal because they had some sort of singularity event where the AI turned and like almost killed humanity, so they banned it. So that's why they have to use the spice, because the physical
Wow.
beings have to navigate through the interstellar navigation when they're going faster than light. A physical being has to do it, and it's impossible for humans to do unless they take massive amounts of spice and become these weird navigator creatures. So that's why they need the spice so much, because interstellar travel is impossible without it or AI, and they banned AI because it's too dangerous.
Wow.
So interesting.
Interesting.
Yeah. But anyway, so
Interesting. I've
what's
heard the books are good, and
I've
I
never
know that
read them.
they keep trying to go. Yeah, I keep hearing that the movies don't do the books justice from what I hear. But in
Yeah.
any event, you're going to read something there. It sounds like, and I think we're going to probably
Yeah. Shrek says
call it a
District
night.
9 was an
Jump
awesome
this
movie.
idea.
District 9 is like low key the most hilarious movie of all time. And it's definitely the most realistic, because like the aliens show up and they're all like jacked up, and it becomes like a ghetto of like stupid aliens. We end up being like, they end up being refugees and have all these like problems and stuff. It's just hilarious. It's too true. That's exactly probably what would happen. Like somehow they got here interstellar travel and we still end up with like refugees. Anyways, it was, where was the one I was trying to read? Oh, Vunder guy says, why even ask the question? Is Russ or faltering? Have you seen the Bradley and Leopard Graveyard? Should be asking about that. Banderistan, whatever. Banderistan. Anyways, my point was, if you heard early on, I don't necessarily think Russia is faltering. They are. It could be. Like I said, the main problem is that we don't have. I don't care about apologists on either side who are just cheerleading, rah rah. Russians are can't do any wrong, whatever. Or same with Ukrainians. I'm trying to figure out exactly what's happening, just based looking on everything. And my assessment is that the Russians don't care about winning as a function of just like the map. They'll drop back from their lines, whatever, cede a little bit of ground to stabilize, whatever. And it seems right now that the Ukrainian offensive is not focused. At least I can't pick out like a coherent strategy yet that's occurring. They're just attacking all at once in various places, maybe to see where they can gain the most ground. But so it's hard to tell exactly who's having more of an effective time, because the Russians dropping back, that doesn't really mean that much. If they're just like, well, we're getting a ton of force on us here, let's just drop back to where we have the rest of our guys. We lose a couple kilometers on the map, we don't even care, make that back later. We saw that happen in the last big offensive, where Ukraine pushed forward really fast, supposedly gained a bunch of territory, but couldn't hold it. And then the Russians eventually took Bakhmut anyway. So yeah, without air superiority, it's very difficult. And the Russians were very spread out. So anywhere that the Ukrainians decide to focus, they're going to make gains initially. Doesn't necessarily mean anything. So it's only time will tell, I think, in terms of how it's actually going. To me, it seems like it's so unfocused, and obviously I'm not plugged in, to the intelligence, but it seems bizarrely unfocused of an attack. Yeah, exactly. I think they're probably doing some kind of offensive recon to see if maybe they can get but a lot of times they would let the Ukraine push through and overextend and then just encircle them. Let them get too far past their lines in one area and then just cut them off. So you have to watch out for that too. So it's interesting to see what will happen, but
Thanks, Marco.
yeah, 15 pounds.
Lost
Nice
it.
work.
Good. Also said the Book of Eli.
Cool, man.
I guess. Why don't you just?
Oh yeah, the movie
he's
Book of Eli.
15 pounds himself. Yes, excellent.
Nice work, man. Yeah, I definitely think getting in shape is hugely important for going forward, especially because there's all sorts of reasons. Obviously, performance reasons in any sort of disaster scenario, and health care costs, healthcare availability, all that stuff's getting worse. You want to have as few health related issues as possible, dental, physical. Like you want to be in tip top shape and not have to rely on the system. The medicine's going to be harder to get, more expensive, listen, all that stuff.
It's the way of life, even your psychology. And there's some ridiculous stat. It's like 70% of Americans are in the overweight insane, or obese category. And it's like, wow.
Right.
What are we doing with society? It's good for guys like Yeah, so just become more rare, right?
Yeah,
Fucking-
exactly. We're the top tier even more. Just push me. I don't even have to do anything, and I already went up a few percentage points just by
Yeah.
everyone else dropping.
Right.
And then when I get
Yeah,
mega
everybody else
juiced,
is getting bigger.
and then once we get on the gear and look like Liver King, will this be ruling this place?
All natural.
Yeah, totally natural.
Totally natural.
Just need $5,000 a month in HGH.
Right.
Cool, man. Well, glad you could make it, man. Been a while.
Thanks for the chat.
Hopefully
I
got
certainly have a
smoothed
little
out.
bit more to talk about and prepared next time for discussion. I saw it on social media and I thought,
I'm
oh,
glad, man. Glad you could make it
make
for
clip
sure.
it.
Yeah, I didn't come
Cool.
super prepared with conversations or
all good.
topics, but
That was fun.
it was fun, man. I'm glad you could make it
Yeah,
for sure.
hopefully we're entertaining.
Yeah,
Hopefully
we
we're
need Dan. We need Dan to make fun of next time too. So,
Okay.
but it was
Thanks,
fun, man.
Eric.
Appreciate you can make it.
Bye, folks.
Bye,
Talk to you
everyone.
soon.
Yep. See ya. Let me get off internet.
We'll try this again, bro.
Cool.
That was good.
Yep. I'll talk to you later, man. Glad
that
you could
was-
make it.